story. Let's look at all the angles. And honestly, I feel he was testing the waters, narrative seeding in Ontario, and really seeing what is public perception in Canada, because that's where he's trying to build it. All right, let's dive into the. This video is going to get no reach, but I refuse to be silenced, and I refuse. Welcome back to the channel, guys. Today we are talking about maybe a soft PR approach or narrative seeding that Ryan Reynolds did in apparently Kingston, Ontario. Now, he is from Canada, but from Vancouver, not from Ontario. So we're going to tie all the pieces back, look at what went down with him sharing apparently a selfie on his Instagram stories. Of course, that has since expired, but people got screenshots of it. And the fact that it's edited and what all this means, because it wasn't edited by a fan. It was up on Ryan's stories. Welcome to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Ashley Brianna Eve. We talk about pop culture, power, media manipulation here. My background is branding and marketing and SEO. So I bring a unique lens to a lot of the pop culture topics that you're hearing about in the news. And today I want to look at this from the perspective of, because I believe it was this narrative seeding and maybe even testing the waters in Ontario and Canada? Because what we want to remember, and we're going to get to this as well today, he still has in February or on February 22nd, 2023 with Variety, he talked about this 1.2 million square foot studio in Canada that he was building. He had spoken about it being in Markham, which is, depending on the route you take, 3 to 5 hours with Toronto traffic away. So it's not in Kingston, but he had talked about this. The studio is one of the first projects for this 1.5 billion private equity fund. So was he testing the waters? Let's dive in. Let's look at the story. Let's look at all the angles. And honestly, I feel he was testing the waters, narrative seeding in Ontario, and really seeing what is public perception in Canada, because that's where he's trying to build it. All right, let's dive into the article. I originally wasn't going to cover this because an edited image in Kingston, Ontario did not interest me, to be honest. And then I started seeing, when I Googled it, originally there was a story that was run that was saying it was a fraud. Like he faked it. It was an Instagram story. He was never there, but the image was edited. The image is definitely edited, but he was never there. And then other stuff was coming out saying, no, he was there. And so it started to grab my attention. And it further grabbed my attention when all of these different businesses within Kingston and the surrounding area started taking the picture of him and making memes out of it and sharing it for their business. I'll show you a cute one for Humane Society because I'm always about helping out animals. So we'll promote the Humane Society that used this and edited it into their Instagram account, which I thought was so cute. So yeah, that started to grab my attention when I was like, oh, all right, now this makes sense from a PR perspective and branding perspective. Was Ryan Reynolds really in Kingston? So this was in the local newspaper. And again, I don't think this made necessarily international coverage, but I don't think it was meant to. I think it was more meant testing the waters. Canadian actor Ryan Reynolds recently posted 2 photos of him in front of the Tragically Hip way in downtown Kingston. It's a mystery whether he was really here or not. And so this is the image, and internet sleuths, maybe mommy sleuths, who knows, realized that there's no way that that image was actually legit. And so it was called out as being AI, and AI even said it was AI generated. So he has a picture of himself on social media standing in front of the Tragically Hip way in Kingston, March 17th, 2025. And again, that was Instagram stories. He had a Tragically Hip song playing in the background. Tragically Hip, great band. And if you want to get on the good side of Canadians, shout out Tragically Hip. So it says it may be a hoax, but if you believe Canadian actor Ryan Reynolds' Instagram story, the Deadpool star who is married to Blake Lively claimed to be in Kingston on St. Patrick's Day on Monday. Reynolds shared 2 stories on both Instagram and Facebook featuring downtown Kingston. The first was a shot of him standing at the corner of the Tragically Hip way in Ontario Street, smiling, wearing a dark blue sweater with the Tragically Hip song Head by a Century playing in the background. Great song. Under construction behind him was one of the new high-rise buildings currently being worked on. To his left, you can see parts of Lone Star Restaurant. The second story the Vancouver-born actor posted was a close-up of the 2 signs with the song Courage by the Tragically Hip playing in the background. It also makes me wonder, like, are these Easter eggs? Now, he's got the worms in my brain, the way Taylor puts worms in your brain of everything you're looking for or at as Easter eggs. And, well, narrative seeding would be more of like the branding way to put it. The picture is blown up on social media where people said it was Photoshop, pointing out a blur over Ryan's left shoulder. Another person pointed out that it was the same sweater he wore on January 31st while filming an ad in front of a green screen. Well, that's interesting. I missed that part when I originally went through it. While out for a walk, a member of the wig snapped a photo of the location Ryan was supposedly at. The photos clearly do not line up as the crossing sign is missing in Ryan's pic, and the buildings are closer than they are in the wig's photo. So you can see here how far away that building actually is. And then if we scroll back up to the photo he shared, it looks like it's directly behind him. And like I said, AI is also saying that this image is apparently fake. He apparently comes out and admits it too. We'll get there. Late Tuesday, a source close to Reynolds reached out. Oh, actually, they do put it in here. They must have edited it then. Late Tuesday, a source close to Reynolds reached out to the Wig Standard, confirming the actor was visiting Kingston for personal reasons, but confirmed he loves it in the Limestone City and edited his photo because of glare in the background. I don't know. That's a little weird. Why would you edit it that much, though? That's a big difference. That is not what that intersection looks like. We can see it right here. It's very bizarre to me. Anyway, apparently it was edited due to a glare in the background. Also very Canadian of him, a previous post showed his support for the Terry Fox Foundation. That 2-minute video of Terry also showcased one of the Tragically Hip songs, Courage. In the post he wrote, Terry Fox started a marathon against cancer. He couldn't finish it, so others have been doing it in his honor since 1981. Reynolds has 52.9 million followers on Instagram and 21 million on Facebook. Both platforms were used to share the pictures on social media. So again, originally I didn't care, to be quite honest. I didn't care. I was like, okay, Ryan, whatever. You do you post edited pictures in Kingston. It didn't catch my attention, but then I started to see businesses sharing it. Well, I'm going to show you. If you are a friend of the channel and a community member, you know we love animals here. I actually have a farm animal sanctuary on our property where we've rescued horses, goats, sheep, and I want to expand one day. So we are big animal lovers here. So I want to give a shout out to the Kingston Humane Society. And this is where it started to get my attention when local businesses started to edit the picture and put him in their location. Now, let's have a look here at what the Kingston Humane Society said. Breaking news, Ryan Reynolds spotted at Kingston Humane Society. Hold on to your leashes, folks. After his did he or did he not visit to the Tragically Hip Way street sign at the Slush Puppy Center, the legendary Ryan Reynolds was inspired to drop by the Kingston Humane Society for a visit with some actual puppies. Known for his love of animals and his ability to make everyone laugh, Reynolds gave an impromptu performance in one of the dog wards that was met with wagging tails and several enthusiastic barks. He also took some time to show our cats to the Deadpool dance. They were not impressed. In true superhero fashion, Reynolds then transported himself back to his home with a promise to return the next time he does or doesn't visit Kingston. And so they edited the picture of Ryan in with 2 dogs that are up for adoption there. And I just think it's so cute. Leaving Ryan out of it, if you like him or not, I just think it's cute that they've leveraged this as a way to get more traction on their Facebook page to help more animals. Looks like 2.1K likes, smiles, hearts, 109 shares. That is amazing use of it. And it also made me start to think, well, this has got to be narrative seeding. It's got to be testing the waters and seeing, is there still goodwill in Canada with his brand and with him? Because again, he has this massive studio that he's been saying he's going to start in Markham. Again, a few hours away. And there were some rumors of people saying, well, I think he's in town. Well, Reddit, not rumors, but on Reddit, they were saying, I think he's in town because that's where he's building this massive studio. Like he's turning into like Hollywood North in Ontario, which would be fantastic for the economy here, not going to lie. And I just don't see how, if you're in Markham, which is near Toronto, you're going north toward, wasn't it north? I don't know. I don't know my directions, but you're going that way towards Kingston, especially with Toronto traffic, and everything you want is in Toronto. It's very bizarre to me. And again, it might have been just purely to feel it out and to get everyone talking about why is he in town. Now, I want to show you something else. In Facebook groups, a new user had suddenly shown up and was interacting with people. And this person says that they were talking to this Brad M. Murphy. They said, I love this. My husband is a huge fan. We went to many concerts together. We miss him so much. And Ryan has spoken out about the Tragically Hip previously. So it is assumed he's a fan of the Tragically Hip. I think every Canadian is, though. Not to speak for every Canadian, but I don't know how you don't like the Tragically Hip, especially in the summer at the cottage anyway. So this Bradley M. Murphy says, I know, same. Love to see them one more time. This other person says, yes, as long as the room is not occupied, we would be happy to show you guys. So there's this apparent talking about this Brad M. Murphy is showing up in this Kingston Facebook group. And I couldn't find the other ones, interestingly enough. I'm not suggesting they were deleted, but there were multiple Facebook posts from this Brad M. Murphy that I saw last night when I was looking at it to prepare for today. And then I can't find them anywhere. I'm not saying that they were taken down by anyone. I just can't find them to show them to you. But this Brad M. Murphy was asking people and engaging in the Facebook group, saying basically, do you guys know where we should go? Any good places in Kingston? And people have assumed, I don't know how, that it's Ryan. I think what they're doing is connecting that this person was asking about specific places and talking about the Tragically Hip. And then all of a sudden, there was photos of Ryan at the Tragically Hip way at that intersection. And so they're connecting. Like, who else could it be? One day you have this new person to the group that's asking about locations in Kingston. And now all of a sudden, Ryan Reynolds is there. And I can understand that it seems like a pretty logical connection. I will say that the feedback overall has been very positive for Ryan in all of the Facebook groups I can find in regards to this. Has been a very positive feedback. There have been some people saying that they think it's PR or damage control, but overall, people have been positive. There's something else I want to show you. I'm going to share a quote from someone that's quoted in a local publication, and I'm just going to give you an example of what happened in terms of it potentially being quote unquote astroturfing or sock puppet accounts, but I don't want to show that person's name because I'm not saying it is, just saying it could potentially be. And I don't want to call anyone out like that. So I just want to give an example of how it can happen. Again, we're seeing here Kingston Daily, Ryan Reynolds caught in Kingston sleuthing for tragically hip spots. So Kendra Amy, a group member, quickly pieced the clues together, revealing that the profile was linked to Reynolds. I can assume that the only way anyone's done this is this account was new, posted in the group, and then about the Tragically Hip, and then Ryan posted about it. Amy posted, Brad M. Murphy posted in the group yesterday, and Linda Lee sent him a photo of the street sign. Today, Ryan's Facebook stories of this hip sign. Hope you enjoyed your visit, Ryan. After the reveal, Amy joked that she would have gladly joined Reynolds for the selfie. The Kingston Frontenacs even got in on the hype too, suggesting that if Brad, quote unquote, was still in town, they could help him with the hip memorabilia inside Slush Puppy Place. The actor's visit to Kingston, a city closely tied to the legendary band, was met with excitement from fans and locals alike. So again, it was very positive, the feedback overall. Now, someone had posted in that same Facebook group that Brad M. Murphy had posted in because people started questioning it, right? And this one person comes up, and I checked out her account, and she has a couple hundred friends. There's not much posting. Like, she hasn't, that's a horrible way to say it. I swear I'm intelligent. It's Monday morning. There is not much in the way of posting or engagement on her page. So what I want to say is it is potentially a sock puppet account, but it is not something right away that is glaringly obvious. But I want to give you an example of how astroturfing and sock puppet accounts can help in a situation like this. So Brad M. Murphy posts, and then people are coming in and they're saying, no, it was fake. He wasn't there. Because, right, the narrative was turning into, well, they just faked this. Why did they fake this? And so this woman posts and she says, no, I was in the car behind him. His wife and him were in the car, and he runs out in the intersection and takes a picture and then runs back to the car. And the only reason I knew it was them because of his wife. And someone says, well, why didn't you take a picture then? If you're sitting there stuck behind them because apparently Ryan Reynolds is running out into the street, which sounds like, I'm sorry, it just sounds absolutely insane to me. I can't imagine this, especially high profile people like that. You're just not running out into the street, but what do I know? So someone said, well, why didn't you take a picture then? If you're seeing Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds running out, I think she also claimed that Blake took the picture or something, running out into the middle of the street to take this random ass picture. Why didn't you take a picture? And she had said, well, no, I was in a really big rush to bring my kid to the hospital or something along those lines. There was a medical emergency with her kid. So she said, I noticed it, but didn't do much with it. And to me, that post just seemed off. It seemed weird. It seemed more like narrative control in the group, if I'm going to be honest. So when we look at astroturfing, which is something that became very popular when Blake and Ryan accused Justin Baldoni of doing it, the definition of astroturfing is the deceptive practice of presenting an orchestrated marketing or public relations campaign in the guise of unsolicited comments from members of the public. Sock puppet accounts, which you see a lot on Reddit, is a false online identity used for deceptive purposes. So the idea of a sock puppet account would be either an online fictitious identity used to conceal the true identity of, say, an investigator. Let's use it as an example, as an investigator, right? So you're pretending to be someone you're not, or fake accounts to push a certain narrative, right? So people start pushing back and they're saying, this doesn't make sense to me. So the sock puppet account goes in. It's like, no, it makes total sense. I can confirm I saw him and his wife there, right? To me, and I'm not saying this is exactly what happened because I didn't really look into that account more than just a quick browse. And like I said, a couple hundred friends, some posts, but not a lot. Might also be private, right? The account might be private with only certain things public. You never know. I truthfully didn't give it too much time of day. What I will say is it did kind of smell like a sock puppet account. And if it walks like a duck and it talks like a duck, I have ducks. Then it's usually a duck if it walks and talks like a duck. So it's possible, and I'm not saying it is what happened. It is possible that this was done to test the waters, see how Canadians are viewing Ryan because he has this massive center that he wants to build here, just a couple hours away from where he was. Touch on a beloved Canadian band. The Tragically Hip is absolutely beloved. Go into any cottage country in the summer and, you'd be hard pressed to find a cottage not playing the Tragically Hip. They hold such a deep place in so many Canadians' hearts. So he was also aligning himself with a very beloved brand, a Canadian brand. So I think that it was smart. I know you guys don't want to hear it, but it was smart in terms of aligning himself with someone that's beloved, a band that, it was just such a tragic end as well in terms of the Tragically Hip. And I just think it was smart business. It was smart to test the waters. The feedback was ultimately favorable to him, which might give him that green light of like, yeah, we can move ahead with the center. My brand is not as tarnished in Canada, so we can move ahead with this. We can start, getting things moving. And it is possible that there were sock puppet accounts that were in there to control the narrative if people started pushing back, being like, this makes no sense. Like that he admitted that the picture was edited. And so what we're supposed to believe that he was in Kingston? Because if that narrative got out, they lose control of the narrative, right? If that narrative gets out and no one saw him and no one has any idea and people are like, I live across the street and nothing like this happened or whatever, then you lose control of the narrative. So it is possible that a sock puppet account, a false online identity, was used for deceptive purposes. All right. So it is very possible. And then that person is able to bring back control of the narrative because they say, well, no, I saw him. And what's better than a eyewitness? It still seems weird to me that Blake and Ryan just run out. I mean, Kingston is pretty quiet. I can't imagine a huge to do if they did, but I just genuinely, from a security standpoint, cannot picture that they just run out of their car at an intersection and they start taking pictures and then they edit that picture because of a glare. And in editing the picture for a glare, they move the building closer. I don't know. To me, it just sounds like a soft PR strategic approach with narrative seeding and narrative control. Now, some of the things I want to say, again, if we look at from a perspective of a PR play, hyper local PR play. Like I don't think this was an international PR play where they're trying to get on the news like across everywhere. It was a hyper local PR play. Again, just breaking this down, I want to put the building blocks here. One, it could either build favor with Ontario and those in Ontario, especially because he aligned himself with the Tragically Hip. And it could build favor with any stakeholders or investors, or I don't know how far he is into building this center. But guys, look, my image is not damaged. We can move ahead with this. If anything, it's smart to move ahead with it in Canada all along because look, they love me here. They love me here. So it's very possible that that is one of the reasons that it was done. This is a huge Canadian investment, and it's going to be deeply rooted, I imagine, in provincial support, local buzz, local goodwill of people with him. So this move from a strategy standpoint is kind of like, hey, I'm here. It's a beloved Ontario town, beloved band. It's not overly flashy, right? We've talked about this where I think that Blake in particular is moving towards the every woman. I think in many ways, Ryan is working on softening his image a bit rather than being kind of the smart ass. I don't think he'll ever fully get away from the jester, but who knows? He might move. He might jump. If I was to predict anything for Ryan, I think he would jump to the innovator or the creator. If I was to make a guess on any branding archetype and brand positioning jump, those would be the ones that I would foresee him jumping to. But it's soft. It's not super flashy. It's not staged PR. It kind of has this personal feeling, hits the heart of Canadians, low stakes, puts his name out here. And again, he gets to see what are the feelings here around him. Now, the controlled kind of ambiguity is no risk as well, right? He didn't really confirm or deny the hoax himself. It's not like Ryan Reynolds came out. A source, although always keep your eye on sources, guys, because usually a source is someone, aka PR, or someone close to the celebrity. So a source came out and said, yeah, it was edited, but just because of a blur, right? That neither confirm or deny is such a PR strategy. And if it goes well, he's a quirky Canadian. He's beloved. Oh, it's just Ryan being Ryan. He's just being funny. He's a funny guy. If it backfires, it wasn't a huge deal at the end of the day. Like people would move on. It's just Ontario, Canada at the end of the day. So it also gives them that opportunity to, again, test the waters with no risk at the end of the day, not big stakes. And how many people are actually in Ontario that are content creators or streamers that would even pick up on this? And even when I saw it originally, I thought, I'm not covering this because it's dumb. Again, is it Astroturfing buzz? Number 3, the mysterious fake account, the fake, potentially, allegedly, maybe fake comments in the Kingston Facebook group, him potentially creating a fake account or someone on his team. I don't know if Ryan Reynolds himself is in a Facebook group for Kingston, but potentially someone on his team pretending to be him to get that conversation going, because then it also gets that buzz going. It's smart rather than him just like, ta-da, showing up in Kingston when people are like, WTF. It's smart to put the narratives there, seed the narrative within a Facebook group. And then when you all of a sudden have him show up there, people are like, oh my goodness. And there's your PR, there's your marketing, there's all your information naturally being put out into the press without you really having to do anything. It's user-generated discourse. It's actually very smart. And it looks like this accidental discovery. So it makes it feel very grassroots. It makes it feel very organic. It makes it feel authentic, which is what with the jester brand archetype, if you guys have been following my branding, it's all about authenticity. So if that account was seeded by his team, and if the other account that apparently confirmed this random sighting of him and Blake running out into the middle of an intersection, which I can't see. I'm sorry, guys. I cannot see. Then it was likely meant to amplify the conversation quietly without it feeling orchestrated. And I even saw some posts that were like, oh, he created a fake Facebook account to talk to us. How very Scorpio of him. I think that's what they said. I think he's a Scorpio. I can't remember off the top of my head, but the post was how very Scorpio of him for doing that. I can actually see if I can find that. 1 second. There's the post. Looks like Ryan Reynolds posting from a fake profile, such a Scorpio thing to do. I mean, I appreciate the astrology reference. I love astrology. I am also an astrologer, even though we don't speak about it a lot anymore, but I appreciate that. But again, it's like, people are having fun with it. So it looks like Ryan Reynolds was posting from a fake account. Oh, these are the posts I actually wanted to pull up for you guys. I just found it in here for hip recommendations in Kingston yesterday. This is his story today. Wild. Wanted to share the news. Sorry for breaking your cover, Ryan. Brad M. Murphy posted in the group yesterday, and Linda Lee sent him a photo of the street sign. Today, Ryan's Facebook story is the hip sign. Hope you enjoyed your visit, Ryan. And I think this is where I believe Kendra was quoted in local newspapers, so I feel comfortable putting her name up there. But the one that I feel could have been a sock puppet account in terms of his team member vouching for him, I'm not going to pull up that name because I can't prove it's a sock puppet account. It just feels very much like one, and I don't want to blast that person's name everywhere. So these are the posts. And this is Brad M. Murphy. So this is apparently Ryan Reynolds. I'll be getting a selfie by that. Thanks, Linda Lee. So he says he's going to be getting a selfie by that. And then that is literally where he got a selfie. And she says, Brad M. Murphy, I really wish you told me you were Ryan Reynolds so I could have run down and been in the selfie with you at Tragically Hip Way. Heartbroken. Glad you enjoyed your city, K-Town. Much love. So, and then this is the picture here. So we got a picture, the Tragically Hip Way, just like that account said that he would. So that's where I think people are assuming it's him. I don't know if it actually would be him or a member of his team. If there was a sock puppet account confirming that interaction, then likely his team was doing both. Now, let's look at that article from Variety. It's funny enough, I just posted about this maybe a week ago, maybe not a full week ago, before I even realized that he was in town. But I had posted saying, maybe this isn't happening anymore based on maybe Ryan Reynolds is watching my content and he was trying to tell me that it is happening. I don't know. Maybe I'm looking too much into it. This case will make you crazy. But I had about a week ago posted and said, maybe this isn't actually happening anymore because of the fallout from It Ends With Us. This article was done February 22nd, 2023 in Variety, right? And this was the last time anyone heard about it until Ryan Reynolds was in Kingston, because now everyone locally is talking about it again. Now it's getting incorrect. People are saying, oh, I think he's building it in Kingston. I don't know. Maybe he's going to do that instead of Markham. Probably could do it a lot cheaper if I'm being quite honest. I imagine building this center in Kingston would save you a lot of money over Markham, but then you're out of the city. Again, I imagine, I've never been in New York, but I imagine Toronto traffic would rival New York, like that, on par for those that don't know Canada. And Markham, where he had originally said he wants to build this studio, is just outside of Toronto. So easy access if you have people that are shooting in Toronto. But honestly, if I'm being quite honest, a lot of films that are shot on location they are actually shot in Ontario. Muskoka, which is cottage country here. We actually have a lot of celebrities that come to Muskoka in the summer and spend time here. I would say, though, that Toronto necessarily isn't the go-to, especially for, I can't think of the movie that I know people that were security on the movie, and I can't think of it. It's going to drive me crazy. Anyway, movies tend to be on the outskirts of Toronto, maybe even budgetary reasons, because Toronto is a lot of money. We also have clips of The Handmaid's Tale from not too far from me, from the outskirts of Toronto. So it wouldn't surprise me at the end of the day if it did turn out that he was building it in Kingston anyway to save money, because it's not like Toronto itself is where everyone is shooting. It tends to be on the outskirts of Toronto. Handmaid's Tale was definitely where I used to live, actually. All right. Ryan Reynolds, maximum effort, part of venture building 1.2 million square foot studio in Canada. And this is the last time that we heard about it until this past week. Now everyone's talking about it again, is where I was going. And then we went on side quests there. But I have ADHD, so we go on side quests. Ryan Reynolds is setting up a production hub in his home country of Canada. Maximum Effort, the production and advertising company the Deadpool star co-founded and leads with George Dewey, is part of an ownership group of a new 1.2 million square foot studio being built in Markham, Ontario, just outside Toronto. The studio is one of the first projects for a 1.5 billion private equity fund that will focus on real estate, sports, media, and venture capital. Real estate development firm Watford Group, based in Markham, is leading the investment raise, which is already halfway committed. Maximum Effort has grown in ways and directions that we've never imagined, Reynolds said in a statement. To be launching a fund and building a 1.2 million square foot studio facility in Ontario is both mind-boggling and humbling. Regardless, I'm excited to expand our storytelling capabilities in new directions and to bring more production work to Ontario. This is where I also say that I really believe he was hoping that the It Ends With Us Deadpool would be a catalyst. And I'm going to pull it back to It Ends With Us for all of this because he was looking to expand his storytelling capabilities. I genuinely believe that content like It Ends With Us was part of that mindset of expanding storytelling capabilities. I mean, obviously, you do not steal people's work, and how everything went down is horrendous. Please don't think that just because I'm saying I think that's where their mind process was or thought process was, that means like now I'm just saying, oh, it's totally cool what he did. No. In fact, I am very selective on business owners and personal brands I work with because I will not be a part of shady practices. They happen a lot. Construction is scheduled to begin shortly on the new production studio, which developers say will be the largest film and TV production hub in Canada. There's no projected date for the studio's completion. The facility is I almost wonder if it is. I haven't heard anything about it being built, but maybe it is getting closer to completion. I don't know. The facility is described as a fully integrated production studio for film, scripted and unscripted reality television drama series, live action, and animated feature films. It also will include a technical incubator and a virtual production campus providing vocational training. The site of the studio complex in Markham was originally eyed for a 400,000 square foot development dubbed First Studio City, which was to have comprised 20 sound stages and was targeted to open in 2020. That project never came to fruition. Prior to forming Maximum Effort in 2018, Reynolds and Dewey teamed on the Deadpool movies. Maximum Effort's production credits include 20th Century Studios' Free Guy, The Adam Project for Netflix, Spirited for Apple TV, plus Shotgun Wedding for Amazon Studios, and doco series Welcome to Wrexham, which follows the purchase of Welsh soccer team Wrexham AFC by Reynolds and Rob McElhenney for FX and Disney+. In May 2021, Maximum Effort Productions inked 3-year first-look development deals with Paramount Pictures for feature projects. So, it's interesting, right? Now, what I would say in regards to this is I think that this all ties back to It Ends With Us. Honestly, I really do. This Markham studio, one, was going to be, I mean, you just saw like a rival like Hollywood. It was going to be a power center. And this proposed mega studio Markham wasn't just like a vanity project. This is infrastructure. It's like taking over the industry, really. It's the Hollywood of the North with him at the center of it. And I do believe that even if we look at MNTN, Mountain, Maximum Effort, and this studio and them producing movies, etc., it was kind of like Blake and Ryan, could control every part of the process, which is good business. And again, how he went about it, very wrong. And it's awful. And I think a lot of things about how, in general, not just for Blake and Ryan, how certain people have achieved their wealth and fame are going to come to light in 2025. I don't think we're done yet in terms of who's going to be brought to light, especially in this case. Discovery should be a mess. However, I do think this was like a power hub. And I do believe that he was hoping, or they were hoping, to expand into different types of content. Like, look, we're not just the funny guy. We're not just producing funny movies. Look at what we created with It Ends With Us. I mean, they hit the mark they missed the mark in dangerous ways, because you're talking about domestic violence, something that impacts men's lives every single day. I'm just saying, I think that was the strategy behind it. Now, a lot of people in the community have said something. You guys are smart here. You guys are critical thinkers here. And you guys have said, I think, where they messed up in terms of marketing. Let's leave the hostile takeover aside. In terms of marketing, where they messed up, you guys made a great point. And you said what they didn't realize is that Barbie was in terms of this Barbenheimer type event that they wanted to have with It Ends With Us and Deadpool and Wolverine, that It Ends With Us was the Oppenheimer, not the Barbie. And I agree with you guys. I think that's where they made their biggest mistake, is not realizing that It Ends With Us was the Oppenheimer. It wasn't Barbie. It wasn't a rom-com. And that's where, from even taking over the script and making it more of a rom-com than a DV movie and the seriousness of the movie, they made that mistake from the jump. Absolutely. Even that weird banter on the rooftop scene. That is so weird, so awkward, and just like felt like Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively bantering back and forth on Instagram. It was very odd. I also feel that there was kind of this everything machine model, and that ties into what I was just saying. This everything machine model where ad strategy, check. MNTN, we got you. We got the software. Brand integrations, check. We've already proven we can do brand integrations. And they've proven it with themselves first. Yes, a lot of their projects have been that, but brand integrations, check. Aviation Gin, check. Mint Mobile. Look at all these brand integrations we've been able to bring in and make go viral with our marketing and content creation and ad strategy of maximum effort. Look, so not only do we have the ad strategy and the actual running of the ads and the software, we can do brand integration seamlessly, content creation. We can do the physical production at the Markham studio. And I really believe that it was all intentional for a long ass time. If you want this is people like this and the Taylor Swifts of the world aren't playing today in terms of their branding and their moves, their power moves. They're planning like 10 years down the road. Right? I mean, they might be reacting in the moment to PR disasters or a PR crisis and then having to maybe manufacture something in the short term, right? So maybe, for example, Taylor Swift didn't want to put out an album for 2 years or 3 years, but maybe potentially to fix PR and give her fans something to chew on that's not linked to It Ends With Us. Maybe she gets engaged or maybe she puts out an album, right? But overall, typically you're planning long-term. This is long-term strategy. This is something I talk about even with my celebrity clients as well. When they're asking me about SEO and building a brand and shifting the narrative that's online, I'm like, that's long-term. This isn't, now you can do SEO manipulation and flood, but even SEO manipulation and flooding the algorithm and flooding Google with all of these articles, right? We've seen that. We've talked about it a lot on the channel. That's short-term because there's just such today a short-term focus and short news cycle that even if you flood the algorithm, especially if you're in the middle of a PR crisis, I mean, in 2 days, something else is taking over your spot. So it is a long-term strategy game when you're building something out like this. And I really believe it's kind of like this empire that they were building. I don't think him nor Blake just want to make movies. I think they want control over every layer of the industry in their own way. And unfortunately, or fortunately, guess depending on whose side you're looking at, it's blown up in their face. And I do not think for a second they expected Justin Baldoni to stand up for himself. I believe they've probably been used to pushing their weight around, pushing their star status around, pushing around who supports them and who has their back. And they expected him to just fold and say, okay, no problem. Not worth the fight. I don't have the money to fight you guys. I'll say your stupid statement and just get this over with. I don't think they planned for any of this. But I do believe that all of this in regards to Kingston was calculated, soft PR, because again, it wasn't really meant for it to go viral across the world. Soft PR, narrative seeding, just planting the seeds, because now people locally in Ontario are all talking about, oh, did you guys hear he's supposed to be having this huge studio thing in Ontario? And is that why he's here? And is he starting to build it? And now you've got the narrative moving in the direction that he wants for Ontario. Even if it's still not overall moving the direction he wants globally, in Ontario, it is moving in the direction he wants. So that is my take on this whole didn't he show up in Kingston thing. That is my take. I want to hear from you guys. What do you think about this? What do you think about the post? He admitted that it was edited, but said it was just because of a glare. And Do you think he's actually starting to put the wheels in motion for this big studio that he spoke about? When was this article again? In 2023. I'd love to hear. What do you guys think's going on? And with that, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys. What I found, nobody wants to hear.